Hello, everyone. I'm Lena Stevens with the Power Path, and today we're doing an introductory webinar on our new series, Pivot. And Pivot is a new path to empowerment in work and life. So there are four of us here, and we're each going to introduce ourselves and give you a little bit about our background, especially as it relates to the Pivot series. And then each of us will go through and give you a little bit about each of the sessions that will be part of this very experiential webinar. So my background is that I'm a co-founder of PowerPath along with Jose. And many years ago, in a past life, when I lived in California, I was in management. And I loved it. I loved working with people. I loved doing the organization. I loved getting people to be very successful in whatever that they were doing, whatever their roles were. So I implemented a lot of shamanic principles as well as intuitive skills so that, you know, the companies and the staff that I was managing would be as successful as they possibly could. So that's kind of where I cut my teeth. And then, of course, many of you know that PowerPath has been in existence for more than 30 years. And we've been very successful in bringing communities together and having great ideas of what to teach and, you know, implementing those. So that's what I bring to the table. And I wanted to share with you first a little bit about the series Pivot. It's going to be 4 webinars, and it's not just, okay, so you take the webinar and here's the information, but it will be very interactive because we're going to provide you with materials so that you can really work with the concepts that we're teaching in between each of the sessions. So I'm going to introduce right now the first session, and it's all about community. And often when we hear the word community, we think in a very limited way about the people that are around us, that live in our town or, you know, our work community, perhaps our family. But community is so much more than that. And community is a very, very important part of how you manifest and what your support system is and how you network. And a concept that really a lot of people don't recognize is that you have an internal community, which is just as important as your external community. You have, you know, your physical community, which is your physical body and all the elements that go into it and how they relate to each other. You have your emotional internal community, you have your mental internal community, and your spiritual internal community. And those have to be in balance, and they have to be able to interact with your outer community, which is made up of many, many different aspects. And of course, that all depends on where you are in your life and what your project is, what your endeavor is, what your business is, or what your community group is. So communities also go through a growth pattern, and we're going to focus a lot on that because I'll give you just an example of an aspect of the growth pattern that many people feel is something alien or something that is trying to disrupt their progress. You know, there's something called crisis. And when crisis happens, that is actually a part of the important part of the growth pattern. And often when crisis happens in a community or in your business or in your life, you're very quick to blame. You know, you're always looking for something to blame. A group of staff, perhaps a business staff, is always trying to blame, or perhaps a CEO is trying to blame something externally for that crisis that's happened, instead of being proactive and really embracing the tools that we're going to teach you to take that crisis step that in that growth pattern and move it in a positive direction so that you can always be evolving towards your goal. So the other aspects of community, we have a lot of different things to teach you about community that will help to create, first of all, balance, and will help to create a path towards, you know, very, very successful goals. Everybody has a goal. There's nobody out there that doesn't have any goals. Maybe there's a few of you, but everybody has intentions. Everybody has desires. Everybody wants to improve. So we're, in shamanism, there's such thing called maps. And that's why I love shamanism, because there's a lot of maps. And this is a really good map that we're going to be teaching you in all of the 4 different sessions. You're going to get tools, you're going to get maps, and you're going to be able to move forward in your life in whatever endeavor you have, whether it's business, whether it's your family, and just whether it's, you're an artist and you just want to be more successful and you want to be participatory and you want to show up. Everyone has a life task, everybody's got their medicine, and so this is a program that is designed to help you create a container for that to be manifest in the world. So I'm going to now introduce Jose, who's going to talk about, is going to introduce himself and then as well talk about the second session of this webinar series.
So hello, everybody. I'm Jose Stevens, and I'm one of the founders of the Power Path. And I have a background as a psychotherapist. I've been a psychotherapist for about 50 years now. And in addition to that, I've done many trainings and was a university professor for 8 years, and I've worked with a lot of businesses, done countless webinars and retreats and seminars, and all these things having to do actually with communication. I actually worked with a lot of businesses in the course of my work. I didn't start out that way. I didn't go to business school or anything myself, but in the course of my work, I've run into a lot of people that found what I was teaching them valuable, and they invited me to come and work with their law firms or their medical practices, or sometimes even big companies like I flew to Finland and worked with Nokia a number of years ago. And so my work has taken me all over the place. And a huge part of that work has to do with communication. And mostly what I've learned about communication has been from actually making personal mistakes and watching other people make mistakes when they communicate. And so that's such a big part of our experience as human beings, because we're social creatures. And so being social with one another requires communication. That's how we get along with each other. And sometimes the reason communication is also responsible for sometimes the way we not get along with people. So we have a lot to say about communication. And in some ways, unfortunately, we don't know that much about communication, even though it's the main thing we do every day. And that leads to unfortunate results. So we're going to concentrate on, like Lena was saying, a particular map of communication. As human beings, we're biological radios. We receive information all the time. And there are so many ways to receive that information. We have ears, we listen, but we also receive information downloading it from various sources. The cells of our bodies are always receiving information subliminally. And so it goes in, it processes, we add to it through our creativity and through our learning and understanding, and then we express. We tell other people what we know or learn, and that's what we call communication. The ways that we communicate are actually so many that many of them are beyond our understanding. For example, most schools don't include the fact that a major part of our communication is nonverbal, non-physical. It's what you could call telepathic. It's not even believed in by a lot of people, but actually science has proved that we communicate telepathically with others over long distances or in the next room or what have you. And these are all important parts of our communication. We're going to use this map that specifically zeroes in on the different communication styles that people use. And one of those styles is we could call it the head. Another one of the styles, we could call it the heart, and the other, we could call it the gut or kinesthetic. Kinesthetic, emotional, and intellectual. All of us have these centers. We use them, all of us use them, but usually we have one that we rely on the most, and it's our favorite, it's our go-to. And so we could say we're more intellectually centered or more emotionally centered or more kinesthetically centered or moving centered. And these are quite different from one another, and they account for great misunderstandings between people. They don't understand that there's different ways of communicating. And if they did understand that, they would be much more able to bridge the gaps, bridge with other people in ways that would be like non-critical and non-judgmental and non-attacking and all that. So we can use our centers in positive ways or in negative ways. And of course, the goal is to learn how to use our communication talents and skills and abilities in positive ways. An example of positive ways would be that we bridge with other people, we reach out to other people to connect with them. And connection is really what we're all about. That's our social aspect, is that we want to connect with others. And yet we can use communication sometimes to disconnect from people. And sometimes that's appropriate, but a lot of times that's a very negative experience, and it is usually generated by fear. And if you communicate from fear, then you're generating more fear and so on. So we'll get into all that in much greater detail. And I'm going to now introduce Steve Vera, who's going to talk to you about another aspect of the program.
Well, thank you, Jose, and good morning, everybody. Really happy to be here, and so glad that you could join us for this webinar series introduction. I, for the past 20 years, have had a background in my career centered around entrepreneurship and sales and human resources and the psychology that is involved in those particular things. My most recent endeavor was co-founding a company called Skillset Group, in which I also was the chief operating officer, basically taking this business from ground zero to $75 million in revenue, 1,500 employees, and 6 offices across the Southwest region. Within the last year and a half, I was able to negotiate a deal in which I was able to exit the company. And this really was a real blessing for me and allowed me the opportunity to create time and space like I've never had before, which is actually really great timing because my wife and I had a son right around the time I was leaving. And so I've been able to spend a lot more time at home with him and find a new way to work with balance in that way. So if my eyes are a little beady and I seem to be nodding off at times, just know that I'm working on very little sleep. Today, my focus is really around investing in consulting, but more importantly, around raising a family. I've had the opportunity to study with the Power Path for over a decade, and I've had the privilege to learn at an in-depth level how to work with ancient wisdom traditions that these principles that we're teaching are based on, and how to apply that directly to my life and how I operate on a day-to-day basis. And I can't begin to tell you all the ways that it's benefited my life and my success. And so I'm really passionate about getting the opportunity to be able to share that with you as well. I believe that the assets that I bring to the table are focused around a really strong foundation in pragmatic leadership and diplomacy. In the upcoming webinar number 3, we're going to focus on the topic of balance, and we will explore the concept of balance in your personal and work life, emphasizing the importance of integrating the active and receptive aspects of our human nature. Everyone possesses these two sides. The active side inclined more towards mental analysis and problem solving, whereas the receptive side leans more towards emotional connection and nurturing. When these two aspects are in balance, we experience a sense of wholeness and functionality. But when one side is emphasized over the other, there can be an imbalance and a dysfunction. So we'll get into that a little more deeply and how that applies to your specific life and situation. We'll also peer into balance as it relates to nature and how we can learn from balance that's achieved by the natural cycles that are around us all the time. And thirdly, we'll get into the 4 aspects that support balance and identify how learning, service, relaxation, and fun can relate to or basically create sustainable balance in your life, whether that be your work situation or your life. We hope to address how identifying and balancing these aspects can lead to a healthier and more successful personal life and or work life, as I mentioned. We plan to touch on practical strategies in this webinar series. We're really trying to focus on actionable insights and provide or help you to apply these into your daily routine. It's our goal to provide you with like a clear understanding on how to implement these strategies, and we really hope that our extensive experience and practical approach to utilizing shamanic principles in the context of modern challenges, in my opinion, especially, make this webinar a really great opportunity to find ways to achieve a balance necessary for your overall well-being and your success. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Dave McCormick, who is going to give you a little bit about his background and also introduce the topic for the 4th session in this webinar series. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve. Well, good morning, everyone. And unlike Steve, I'm not sleep deprived. So that's a good thing. And I'm looking forward to really being here with all of you. I'm Dave McCormick, and let me share with you a little bit about my background before we get into a discussion on the final webinar series number 4. So I've spent almost 40 years working in global business and had leadership roles for major corporations such as the sales director with Quaker Oats to vice president with Bayer Corporation, who's the maker of Bayer aspirin. Well, I'm sure most of you know that brand. I've also had the opportunity to have lead roles in different organizations, be it management, marketing, sales, and even production. And throughout my career, I've also had the opportunity to own and grow my own business and bring it to the point where we were able to sell that business to a larger organization. So I've taken all these skills and thought about everything that I've done in the past, and now I'm moving into a role of business consulting and coaching. And so I'm really excited to join you guys here today. Beyond my corporate career, there's a couple of things that I've done. I've studied extensively with the Power Path for over a decade, and I'm also the current board member and treasurer for the Society for Shamanic Practice. And both of those organizations have really given me a new perspective on leadership, on engaged community, and then taking all of what I've learned and really applying it to my life. And so it's really been very, very, very beneficial for me. I was drawn to this work, and you're going to hear this a lot as we talk through the different webinar series. You're going to hear a lot about a roadmap or a framework. And I think all of these concepts really, when put together and applied, can really create a better opportunity for success. And whether it's work related, whether you've got a startup project that you're working on, or even your personal life, all of these concepts can benefit you for that. So I'm looking forward to taking this journey with you guys. So our fourth webinar series, and this will be the final webinar series or webinar that we will have in the installment, we're going to touch upon strategies for success. So within that concept exists really three major themes that we're going to touch upon and expand upon. One of those is empowerment. The second one is vitality. And the third is community working configurations. Through all of my experiences, I've seen that we're in a place where the old traditional paradigm of the hierarchical structure is no longer valuable. It doesn't work the way it should, and there continues to be breakdowns in that process. So we're wanting to embrace a new way, a new paradigm, one that's more participatory and where you will have an opportunity to be valued and respected, whether that's in your community, whether that's at your place of work, or whether that's within your whole family configuration. And so empowerment, we'll look at where it comes from. We're going to define it, and then we're going to apply that to the community as a whole, and how we use that, and how we embrace that concept. One of the other concepts we're going to talk about is vitality. Now, vitality is the lifeblood of every community, and it really stimulates excitement, resilience, and inspiration. And if you don't have vitality, the community can't function properly. And so we're going to take a look at how vitality, where it sources from, how you can gain it. And also we're going to address some areas where maybe you have some possible energy leaks and something that would drain the vitality of your community. And then the last topic we're going to talk about, it'll be a little more detailed than the other two. We're going to touch upon community working configurations. Now, a group of people come together with a common goal, and within the community working configurations, we're going to call it a quadrant. And within the quadrant, there are different placements or roles: creation, knowledge, power, and support. So let me give you a recent example that I ran across in my consulting business. I was contacted by a CEO of a startup company who wanted to bring a product to market. And when I spoke with him, he said, you know, we're really having an issue. We've come to this place where we're stuck. And he introduced me to the two other individuals that were working with him in this organization. And we had many discussions. We talked about, what's your goal? What's your insights? How do you want to bring this to market? Where do you feel like your stumbling blocks are? What I recognized through the process is we gravitated naturally towards one of these four quadrants. And once that fourth quadrant was filled, then all of a sudden the organization gained momentum and it moved forward, and things started to unfold and happen for them. In fact, we're right now in test market with three organizations in the country, three supermarket chains doing some tests. One of those is Sprouts, which you probably shop at in your local area. The other thing that we're really close to coming to an agreement on is working with the U.S. government, which should be about a $50 million opportunity for this new startup company. So when I talk about that situation, basically what I'm saying is that I've seen how pulling these quadrants together, it really adds a cohesive place where you can begin to really experience the principles and the concepts that we're talking about. And it really provided a means forward and a way to success. And then throughout all of the series that we're going to give you and provide you, you're going to get exercises, you're going to get different examples. We're going to have the opportunity to have you work through your individual situations and see how that may help you to move through to a different place than maybe you were before. And so it'll be really exciting to be able to go through these different and explore these different concepts with you. So I'm now going to turn it back over to Lana. She's going to talk to you about a unique coaching opportunity that we've set up, and really towards the desire to help you work on your individual situation that you may have. So I'm going to turn it over to Lana. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dave, and thank you, Steve, and thank you, Jose. I feel like the weak link here with all this experience. Yeah, so I wanted to talk to you and complete this webinar with talking to you a little bit about this coaching package that we came up with. To change a pattern, if you change a pattern, you change a result. Okay, so that's kind of our tagline here. Change a pattern, you'll change a result. And it does take several months to actually change a pattern permanently with diligent focus, discipline, and work. So we wanted to be able to support you beyond the timing of this webinar. So this webinar is 4 sessions, 2 weeks apart, and you will get plenty of homework and tools to continue working with the concepts. But then after that, we do have a coaching package available, and it will be with me, with myself, and Dave, and Steve. Jose was going to be around for contributions, so who knows if he's going to be available for the coaching or not. But this is a 3 session coaching package, which then can be catered to whatever your personal situation is, which everybody has a different situation, whether you're just by yourself or whether you're a CEO of a company or whether you're in HR or whether you just have a giant number of family dynamics happening and perhaps even a family business. So make sure that you go onto our website so that you can get more information on this coaching. We really feel like the immersion piece of being able to be experiential with this and to be able to work with the tools and see how they can be applied in your daily life or in your business is of most importance. This is not for us to be talking heads to you. This is really about teaching you, about training you so that you can help yourself. Okay, that's our goal, is for everybody to really be as successful as they possibly can. So we are now going to turn it over to questions and answers. And I do have the question field open, so you can write in your questions. And I'm going to take us off of camera now and attempt to put an image on the computer, just so that we're not running in and out of the frame here. So again, thank you all for joining us for this live presentation on what we're offering. We're really excited about it and very inspired, and we feel like this is the right timing because there's a lot of people out there that want to change. You want to change how you're doing things. You want to change the old patterns. We're in a new time. Some of you who are astrologers out there know that this is a big year of shift and change. Those of you who pay attention to such things, we just entered into the year of the dragon, the wood dragon in Chinese astrology, which really is very positive to move things ahead and to support evolution, whatever that means in your life. So thank you so much. All right, I'm going to attempt to take us off here. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to read these questions out loud, and then I will we'll see who wants to answer them. Okay. All right. All right, first question. Are you teaching about how to run a shamanically oriented business or how to have a shamanic approach to any business? Actually, both. It's wherever you are. So if you are wanting to begin a business, whether it's to be a healer or to be a shamanic practitioner or to be an acupuncturist or to go into alternative medicine or to do something with computers or whatever, you can use these maps. They will be helpful. And of course, the shamanic approach to any current business will only help you to take that business in a more conscious direction. Okay, so if you cannot, this is a question about participation if you can't be committed to the actual live webinar. You don't have to attend in real time. In fact, the registration for this particular series is going to be open all the way up until just before the last session, because you'll still get the recordings. So you can participate on your own time. You will still get the supportive materials, the homework, and all of that. So no, you do not have to participate in real time. Will this be valuable if we are only in the idea phase of a business project?
I would say that it absolutely would be valuable because, one of the things that you'd have the benefit of is being able to start out in a way that's really got a strong foundation and is able to, commence in the right way. A lot of times people find themselves in a situation where what they've already created has a lot of holes and issues there that need to be sort of reversed or reconfigured. And so starting out from a place of the very beginning is actually really refreshing and helpful to be able to start from a really fresh place.
All right, here's a question. Are the 3 coaching sessions with the same person? No, the way that we've designed it is that the coaching sessions will be one with myself, one with Steve, and one with Dave, because we all bring different things to the table, and we all have, our specialties that we can help you with. And they are designed to be 2 weeks apart with plenty of supportive materials, and there will be a questionnaire that we will be sending out prior to the first session so that we can get an idea of how to gear it towards your specific situation. Okay, there's a lot of questions here about like the time of day, the length of the webinars, cost, and all of that. You can find all of that on our website. So go to thepowerpath.com and go to pivot, and all the information is going to be there. Can you give an example of what a typical homework assignment between sessions might look like? Well, there'll probably be worksheets where you can start to look at your situation and try to organize some of your thoughts around it. So, we'll probably have about 2 or 3 handouts, and there will be questions like, what is your community? Or, who do you have in this position? Or what are your goals? So that the homework is actually going to help to organize your thoughts so that you can then really acknowledge where you are in your situation, and that'll give you a lot of insight. So it's really about supporting your ability to gain some insight into your own particular situation and what you need.
And I think that's what makes it an interactive series as well, is that the principles that you'll be learning and the information that you'll be gathering will allow you to, sort of take some material home and apply that information directly to your situation, so that, in real time, we're able to kind of walk through what you're going through and what your situation is, and not sort of leave it to, well, I can take these home and figure it out when I have time. It's really meant to be something that you participate in and are working with in real time.
Okay, so there's a question here about, wanting to know what you might get out of this program, and that there's a struggle of bringing in new clients. Well, it certainly could help. I mean, we never guarantee any end result, but it can't hurt to have more maps and to really focus on the business aspect of it. And I just wanted to mention one more thing that I was intending to mention at the beginning. Sometimes when we hear the word business, we think, oh, that's over there. That's what, I I leave my house, I go to work, and then I come home, and that, you know, the business is over there. And it is about money, it's about corporate, it's about hierarchy, you know, it's all the sort of negative things that we can sometimes feel about the word business. But really, business is your life. Your life is your business, and your business is your life. And so we, you know, this webinar series is really going to try to bring all of that into a more holistic way of approaching whatever it is that you do in your life or your business. So if you're struggling with, you know, everything's going well, you know what your life task is, you know what you're offering, your purpose is in life, but you're, you know, struggling with bringing in clients or organizing how to promote yourself, then yes, this webinar series would definitely help with that. How would Pivot help self-employed people with no employees?
That's a very good question. Right now, I'm self-employed and have my own organization that I'm working through. And some of the things that I'm doing is I'm really trying to reach out and touch base with people that I have done work with in the past. Maybe it's teams that I've worked with at different organizations, and I'm drawing in that support group to try and help me fill positions in areas that maybe I might be a little blind in, and where I need to really try and focus my attention. And so that's one of the ways that I'm going about trying to expand my business beyond just myself, and trying to bring in other people's knowledge. And I talked about the 4 quadrants and how that can really help. So I'm trying to fill those quadrants in my own organization of self-employment, and bringing that in to really try to help me identify areas that maybe I haven't quite thought of, and look at and explore those pieces. And so, yeah, it's really, to me, it's where you draw your support from, particularly when you're working alone.
So here's a question about the time commitment. So I'm just going to answer that. It is on our website, but the time commitment includes more than just the 90 minutes or so of the actual webinar. So the way we've designed it, it will be 90 minutes in total. So probably the presentation will be somewhere around 75 minutes. And then we're always going to have a little piece at the end for questions and answers, because we feel that that's, you know, it's a very important piece of it. Because we don't always know, you know, what people need to hear or what other situations are out there. So we find that the Q&A is an important part. So it's about 90 minutes every 2 weeks, but then it's up to you what you put into it in between. You know, it's not going to be a daily commitment of hours and hours. But we would want you to, or we would hope that you would be inspired enough to spend some time every day just working with the concepts, acknowledging them, thinking about them, getting your own insights, you know, perhaps doing some written exercises, etc. Okay, what if you don't have a solid vision of your business?
Well, I think again, you know, the whole idea of this webinar series is to look at your unique situation, whatever it is, and help you to, you know, use these principles in order to expand from where you are today. So again, like we've been talking about, I think it's important to know that no matter what your situation is, there is these principles can really help you to take whatever it is or wherever you are to the next level, which I think is really valuable for anybody in any situation. And it is an investment. You know, it's an investment in your time and your desire to take it to the next level. So if that's something that you really want to do, then it requires your commitment.
It also, I'm going to speak to the whole idea of creating a foundation. creating a container. It is true that many people out there right now are in the process of change and process of transformation. They don't want to do business as usual, and they have no clue as to where they're going next. So we will definitely address that in terms of creating a good foundation and using these maps to actually create a container. And then the insights may come, oh, okay. Sometimes it's easier to see what you don't want and to eliminate what has not given you vitality in the past and what has not empowered you in the past. So that once you eliminate those things, then you have a clear field, you have an open portal, basically, for some new insight or for some new idea to come in. Okay, how involved are you going to be with a student? Okay, the coaching is where the individual involvement comes in. The webinar series, other than the question and answer in the end, we're not going to be individually involved with the participants of the webinar. But if you desire to have individual, experiences with one of us in a coaching session, then that is where the coaching comes in, which will be available at the end. Okay, I currently work with high technology entrepreneurs and integrate shamanic principles for leadership and high performance teams. I find that I must translate the language used every time, and that can be exhausting. Will your map provide a language that could be used as a starting point with leaders who might be skeptical and conditioned to think these ways are not for business?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, one of the things we really looked at when creating this series was how to work with the language in order to allow these principles to be worked with in a way that doesn't have certain buzzwords or certain triggering words that might not be as well received by a certain audience. So especially for those who are working with that challenge, this is definitely something that we're aware of and want to help provide support for.
Yeah, and I'll add on to what Steve just said. I experience that every day. And yes, there's going to be frustrations because you really want to expand upon the shamanic principles and things that you're doing and how you can apply those things. But the companies that I work with likely don't have knowledge of that aspect. And so I have to kind of tailor my communication and how I explain things, knowing what I want to accomplish and what's set out there and what I want to do in a shamanic way, but provide it to them where it's something that's easily understandable in their language. And Jose talked earlier about communication and how we explore and how people receive language in different ways and communication in different ways. And so, yeah, it can be frustrating. At the same time, it's really a real opportunity and a challenge to really kind of apply some of those hidden skills that you have in an environment that typically doesn't operate that way.
So here's a question: how much of the material is new versus things that we've presented in webinars before? That's actually a really good question for those of you who have taken a lot of our webinars. There will be some overlap, but there's a lot of new information here. So I would say that, maybe 10–15% of it might be things that you've heard before, but presented in a new way. Okay, would this be appropriate for a transition from nonprofit to nonprofit/for-profit hybrid?
Again, yeah, I think that as we mentioned before, the webinar is geared around helping to meet where you are and what your specific situation is, so that we might help you to utilize these tools and these principles to move yourself to the next level. So absolutely, that would be something that this course will be really helpful for.
Okay, here's a good question. Is there a framework to continue coaching after the 3 sessions? Yes. So we feel that it is important not just to do a one-off coaching session afterwards, but if you're really serious about changing your patterns, that the 3 coaching sessions, the initial package is really important to commit to. And then after that, we will have opportunities to do 1-hour coaching or 90-minute coaching as needed. Okay, I want to start working as an artist to make a living. Seems that your program is geared to people with loads of money. The 2 consultants talked about multi-dollar businesses. How about making everyday life easier financially, like ways to pay bills, daily bills?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. One of the things that Lena mentioned earlier was, the idea of looking at how to run your life like a business. And that's really where some of our expertise comes in when it comes to business, is not, necessarily just working with multi-million-dollar companies and deals and this and that, although that's where our experience has taken us. It's really practical things that, these shamanic principles are really helpful for integrating into your everyday life. And so when Lena talks about, like running your life like a business, really, again, it's meant to meet you where you are and to help you to move things to the next level. And regardless of what that is, or the level at which you're at, these principles are meant to help you really take where you are to the next level, whatever that is, even if that's just simply trying to run your home life better. These principles are meant to help you hone things in and to be more efficient and more balanced and more and to be able to communicate better through them. So yeah, again, we don't want to
we don't want to discourage anybody.
Exactly.
From this.
Yeah.
This is not about creating a multi-million-dollar business, but if that's what you want, of course, this will always help. But it's really for anybody that is, you want to be an artist, or you want to be a musician, or your task is taking care of your family and making sure that things run well, and that you've got balance in your home life, or you want to start, selling oils or whatever it is, or you don't know what you want to do, but you want to you want to offer whoever you are your personal medicine, your services out in the world somewhere. So wherever you are in this, it can't hurt. It's only going to be helpful. Okay, we're going to have time for a couple more questions here. What about helping to uncover life tasks? Absolutely. I think we've mentioned that before. If you don't know what it is, that you will be able to weed through what it isn't, and then that will help you to hone in on where you need to go. Okay, if we don't know yet there's another question about life tasks. So the answer is yes. I'm an employee in HR, but don't feel I'm doing the level of work I'm meant to do. Exploring a coaching career, which is similar but not clear in that path forward. Do you think I would benefit from this?
Yes, absolutely, because I find myself transitioning in that way as well. And there's a lot of we kind of shared a little bits and pieces and nuggets of things that you can draw upon, but there are a lot of different areas that can help you in that regard and take you to the place that you need to be. And so, yeah, there's just a tremendous amount of beneficial information here that can help you with that.
Okay, one more question. Okay, I'm a retired RN veteran who does volunteer work with the women's veteran, giving them Reiki as an alternative method to help relieve stress. Looking to re-enter the workplace as an RN. Okay. Do not have a business, but I feel I've been with the Power Path for many guest seminars. Been amazing, looking for more ways to learn, to empower and have community. Well, certainly this will give you a good map for that. You want to mention anything else about that?
No, I think there's been some really great questions, and a lot of it seems to sort of center around people in their particular situations and if this would apply. And just, saying once again, I think that this program has been tailored to help meet you where you are in your particular situation, and how you can work with these principles to move forward and move to the next level in what you're trying to create.
Some of the best material is going to come from the questions and answers. We can't anticipate, everything prior to delivering the program. So we're gonna be a lot of it. There's going to be a certain degree of spontaneity to it, and depending on questions and your personal situations, we'll be able to draw from that and introduce some information that might not have come up if you hadn't asked the question.
Yeah, and I'll also just go back to, I think there's a question about the level of interaction with the participants, and what, like Jose said, it's kind of like the program is meant to help you identify these things in your own life, have some interaction through the question and answers so that we can in real time help work with what's showing up for people. And then, then sort of the next level of that is bringing that into the coaching session. So you can, kind of look at, like a funnel, and, there's the higher level of it, which is sort of bringing your particular situation in and applying these principles in a way that you can directly access the information and apply it. And then if you're so inclined to move to the next level of personal engagement through the coaching sessions.
All right, so I'm just going to end here with with inviting you all to join us. And really, we should look at this whole thing as a live virtual training series rather than a webinar, because you're going to be participating in this, and this is what we hope to do. So it's really a training program, virtual, a webinar series, and we hope that it will be really super helpful in your life right now. So we didn't get to all the questions. So if you have any questions about the schedule, the time, the coaching program, the finances, any of that, you can go to our website, thepowerpath.com, and go under pivot.
That's the website, the email.
Yes, and also if you do have questions for us, we do have an email address that you can use, and that is pivot@thepowerpath.com. So we encourage you to send your questions in, especially those of you that we didn't get to your questions. If you feel that they're really relevant, you're still trying to decide whether to take the webinar or not, please feel free to email us. Thank you again for joining us, and we hope to see some of you next week.